This is a true story. It is also the worst climb in the history of the famous Eiger North Wall. The plot of the film is compact, spectacular scene, while giving people an immersive feeling. It's shocking again. On the eve of the opening of the 1936 Berlin Olympics, the government calls on mountaineers to conquer the Alps. The North Wall of Eiger presents a gift for the Olympic Games. The first climber will be crowned with an honor equivalent to an Olympic champion. As soon as the news comes out, all kinds of mountain climbing masters gathered at the foot of Eiger, scratch one's fists and palms, be eager to try. For them, this is not just a symbol of honor, it's also a self-challenge. The divine moment of birth of miracles, because Eiger is steep, climate variability. The 1,800-meter vertical cliff is also known as the place of death, although the overall elevation is only 3,970 meters, but the difficulty of climbing ranks among the top 5 in the world. There have been countless attempts to conquer his mountaineering enthusiasts, all ended in failure without exception. Andy and Tony, the two brothers who came to climb, are well-known experts in the industry. Considering the difficulty of climbing, the brothers conducted a detailed investigation and planned their route to ensure that everything is safe and sound. They also stored supplies and equipment in advance along the travel route, and set off early on a clear night. The two relied on their superb climbing skills and tacit cooperation. Even in the dark, one can still walk smoothly. At dawn, the location for storing equipment in advance has been reached. However, when Tony fixed the rock nail, a rock accidentally slipped off. Andy dodged in time at the reminder of his teammates. Unexpectedly, he hit another person who used their route. After Andy came down to inquire about the other party's condition, and remind them to maintain a distance on a route. However, when they climbed to a cliff 2,800 meters away, but I realized that I had come to a dead end. On almost vertical cliffs, no catch points, the other team is still complaining. They chose a foolish route. The lights are all down and on. At this point, Andy came up with a bold approach. He wants to cross-cut to the other side of the cliff, opening up a new path. Hurry to make a pendulum cross-cut on a cliff nearly 3,000 meters away. All witnessed Andy's courage and determination to win. Fortunately, after trying a few times, find the catch point without any danger, and this thrilling scene, and it also amazed the onlookers on the ground. After fixing the rope, Tony also crawled over smoothly. The other team also requested another ride, although it's a competitive relationship. But on the perilous North Wall, Andy and they didn't think much about it. Just let them crawl over here. Next, Andy plans to retract the rope. For future use, Tony suggests leaving the rope first. If they fail to reach the summit, still able to return the same way, but Andy fought with his back in his arms. The mentality of being determined to the situation. There was no intention of leaving a way out. Two teams successfully reached the cliff at a distance of 3,100 meters at nightfall. They fixed a sleeping bag on a rock wall less than 2 meters wide for trimming. If nothing unexpected happens, tomorrow is the moment to witness miracles. But the next morning, sudden weather changes. Surrounded by thick fog, their travel speed has also been greatly hindered. It wasn't until 4 p.m. that crossed the second ice wall. He came to a drill board at 3,350 meters, pausing. Compared to the second ice, the terrain here is even steeper. They can only climb along this vertical rock ditch. However, the team member, who was hit by a falling stone the day before, worsened their injuries, causing physical exhaustion, accidental slip and fall during climbing. Although everyone tied the climbing ropes together, but he also suffered a leg fracture during the fall process. If not treated promptly down the mountain, will lose too much blood and die. But one person cannot escort the wounded safely down the mountain. This also puts Tony and Andy in a dilemma. Are you leaving them behind to continue charging, still returning without success? Andy doesn't want to give up the glory of being close at hand. After all, it's only a few hundred meters away from reaching the summit now. But Tony doesn't want to die without rescue. The two brothers went through a fierce argument, finally reached an agreement. After resting in place for a night, choose to collectively descend the mountain. It's easier to climb than to descend, not to mention carrying an injured person. Retreat on a nearly vertical rock wall, slightly not paying attention. They will all be buried at the bottom of the cliff, under the ravages of a blizzard, all day long. They just dropped a few tens of meters. I have to camp again at night. The piercing cold wind mixed with snowflakes, continuously invading several people. They dare not sleep at all, because once you fall asleep, it's possible that we won't wake up again. A few people struggled through the night. The weather is still not improving. They are struggling to decline again. When we reach Andy's cross-cutting location before, the scene in front of them made them extremely desperate. Due to Andy removing the rope, now they can't even pass through. Under helplessness, Andy can only take another risk and choose to cross-cut the past. Thinking about you, turntable, iceable rock walls, make him have no focus at all. After multiple attempts, exhausted, can only declare failure. Now there is a more ominous vertical descent. It became their only way out. When Tony first finds a landing point, how many people make up the human body pulley? Decided to send the injured person down. However, just then, unexpected return, snow mixed with crushed stones, pouring down the cliff ditch. Andy, who couldn't escape in time, was unfortunately washed down by the rubble. The huge inertia of the fall instantly pulled another team member up, colliding with a rock wall, death on the spot. Andy was also suspended in mid-air and passed out. Under Tony's desperate cries, he just woke up. The desire to survive prompted him to instinctively climb up, and that injured person is already dead. But what's even more deadly is that the rock ding hanging several people is unbearable, starting to loosen. Tony shouted as he spoke, Let Andy come up quickly, while pounding the rock with a hammer desperately, but Andy understands. Once the rock ding falls off, everyone will fall into the abyss. In order to leave a trace of vitality for our brothers, he silently pulled out his knife, resolutely cut the rope, choose to be buried in the pen of death. Just a few minutes, 4 teammates only Tony left. He was hoarsely exhausted, to cry without tears. After adjusting your emotions, he's ready to open his sleeping bag and camp on site, waiting for rescue. Can slip underfoot, let his only equipment also fall off. He could only bear himself in despair and helplessness on the icy cliffs. The harsh environment also made it difficult for other mountaineering teams who came to rescue them to move forward. Plus, it's getting late. They can only return to Shangyun Road with Tony's hoarse and Powers' cries. The next morning, the blizzard finally stopped. The mountaineers organized another trip to rescue Tony. Tony also relied on his strong desire for survival and perseverance, miraculously survived, but due to the steep terrain, the rescue team is unable to go up. He can only rely on himself to descend, but the problem is, Tony doesn't have such a long rope at all. So the rescue team asked him to unravel the rope from his body, tie each strand of rope together again, form a long rope and send it down. However, this seemingly simple operation, for Tony present, it's extremely difficult. It can only be completed in 5 full hours. When the rope is sent down, they quickly connected the rope they brought with them. Let Tony pull up. Seeing success on the horizon, the rescue team suddenly realized that they were carrying a short rope again, not long enough at all, but now it's too late to go back and get it. Only 2 ropes can be connected together, but even so, the rope is still a few meters short. Tony started to slowly descend after receiving the rope. When he thought he was about to be saved, unexpectedly, there are still a few meters left from the ground, but got stuck in a knot. Tony, who is already nearing his physical limit, illustrates how to open a knot, but he really doesn't even have the strength to lift his hand anymore. I can only use my last breath to express my feelings at this moment. Life's hope is within reach, but it's so far away, a few meters away, but it has become a ravine that can never be crossed. As an extreme mountaineer enthusiast, Tony's death was just right. He not only showcased the brilliance of human nature, it also created the most tragic story of a top forward in Europe.